Definitely that microphone.
All
Although
right.
it's a little lower now. If you can boost the volume, then it'll be perfect.
I can bring it that loud.
There you go.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so how was the Pluto TV version?
Good. You were talking about the top 5 alien monsters. And
Oh, that thing. That was a disaster because I wanted to do top 5 aliens, and I'm like, but Superman's an alien. And then everyone from Star Wars is an alien. And then everyone from Star Trek is an alien. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, but I said when number 1 was the alien, I'm like, but duh, who else would it be?
Xenomorph is terrifying.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
What a great concept for a show.
Yeah, could you imagine that, Tom? What an idea.
Hey, I assigned you headlines to read, unless you don't want to.
I'm going to take a look at them. I had to review another video, and so now I need to get on board with this.
Okay, take a look. You got 1 minute.
Well, that's like the old days.
Everything is just the answer is always xenomorph.
Yeah. Nintendo announced Xenomorph. New York Times reports Xenomorphs.
Is that just a fancy way of just saying alien? I also need control.
Oh, yes. Of course you do.
Okay, Janet Jackson, you got control.
That is the second time we've had a Janet Jackson reference and refer.
What's the alien movie coming up? Aliens?
Alien Covenant.
I want to watch that. That actually looks exciting to me.
Yeah.
I hope because Prometheus
that's all
was
about
such a
immigration reform, right?
Yes.
Well, it's funny because in Aliens they make that reference when
Yeah.
one of the characters said, "Oh, he meant illegal aliens."
All right, it is 1:30.
All right, hiding.
4:30 on the East Coast.
4:30 Eastern, 20:30 GM or UTC. Mr. Akhtar, are you prepared?
I'm getting prepared. I'll be prepared by the time you intro me.
All right, here we go.
This show is brought to you by audience members like me, not outside organizations. To find out more, go to dailytechnewsshow.com/support.
This is the Daily Tech News for Thursday, April 28th, 2017. I'm Tom Merrick. Good to be back. Thanks again to Scott Johnson and Justin Robert Young for filling in fine fashion yesterday. I am very pleased to be joined today by Mr. Iyaz Akhtar, Senior Associate Editor at CNET. How's it going, Iyaz?
I am good. Now I'm a senior.
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 Iyaz Akhtar, Senior. I was just trying to make it rhyme.
It's totally perfect. I'm really happy to be here. Good to be back on the show.
Yeah, good to have you back, man. We got some fun stuff to talk about today. There's not spacesuits, but flying suits and tunnels underground. And thankfully, it's on a day when Len Peralta's here, so it gives him something to draw.
It's a good Friday, a good way to close out the month of April with some excellent little visual cues in the top stories. I'm excited.
That's true. This is the end of April episodes. They'll still be the 29th and the 30th. Those of you who are worried about your weekend, but it has not been eliminated. We just don't do shows on Saturday and Sunday.
That's right.
Well, let's start out with a few tech things you should know. The New York Times reports the U.S. NSA will stop collecting emails and texts to and from people overseas that mention a foreigner who is under surveillance. The NSA found it too difficult to comply with 2011 privacy rules put in place by the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, which basically narrowed what they could actually keep and use.
Bloomberg News received photos of Apple's autonomous Lexus RX 450h SUV from a person who saw it on the street. The photo appears to show off-the-shelf sensors, including Velodyne's 64-channel LiDAR, at least 2 radar sensors, and a series of cameras.
And had the presence of mind to snap a picture. Nicely done. It doesn't look that impressive because we've seen so many of these things now, I guess. Nintendo announced the 2DS XL game console, a revision of the 3DS XL, but not 3D, with larger screens, an NFC reader, and updated processing power. Goes on sale in Japan for 14,980 yen on July 13th, and on sale in the United States for $150 on July 28th.
A quick note, I was talking to another editor here. It's actually called the new Nintendo 2DS XL because there's a new Nintendo 3DS XL that games only work on with an extra piece of controller. The new is actually part of the new.
So the ones that work on the new 3DS XL will work on the new 2DS XL.
Exactly. But
not in 3D.
Right, in 2D. Such a weird naming convention.
Yeah.
Intel set a Q1 revenue record of $14.8 billion and increased 7% on the year. Intel's memory units saw the biggest growth in the quarter, up 55%, driven by its Optane products. The company's client computing and data center units both grew 6% on the year.
So good news for Intel. They've been having some worries about mobile, and it looks like the Optane chips are helping pick things up. Client computing and data center, of course, another diversification effort. Lots of other future bets, not yet contributing in large part, but they're future bets. That's the thing. Now, here are some more top stories. Last month, the U.S. Justice Department announced the arrest of Lithuanian Evaldas Rimasauskas for swindling $100 million out of U.S. tech companies using a phishing scam. Rimasauskas forged invoices and corporate stamps in order to impersonate a legitimate Taiwanese server manufacturer called Quanta, and then trick the accounting departments at companies into paying for non-existent computer supplies. The DOJ announced in March that it had recovered most of the money. So these companies aren't out there $100 million, although when you find out who the companies are, you're going to know that $100 million is like a rounding error for them. Facebook and Google both confirmed to Fortune that they were, in fact, the targets.
Pretty clever. Sony said on Friday it expects annual profits to rise 73% to 500 billion yen, its highest since March 1998. Sony's image sensor business leads the way, returning to profit at 120 billion yen. Sony intends to double spending on manufacturing and raise production capacity 13.6%. Sony also expects a 25.4% rise in profit in its gaming division. Sales of the PS4 are expected to slow to 18 million units. To slow down to 18 million, it's nuts, by the way. But revenue will come from strong game titles. Sony Pictures is also expected to return to profitability after last year's $1 billion write-down.
Yeah, NBC Universal's film, the Universal film part of NBC Universal, really contributed to the bottom line of Comcast quite a bit. So Sony would need that, and it's possible that it can get that. As much as we hear about, ticket sales and people going to the movies, film companies are actually doing fairly well right now. Don't know if that'll continue to last, but it's image sensors. It's sensors and it's chips. That's driving Samsung's business right now, and it's definitely driving Sony's as well.
Spider-Man will help them.
Do you think Spider-Man will help them?
Yeah. When Spider-Man was Sony's first picture, the way back with Tobey Maguire, it made a crazy amount of money, and now they're still going to generate revenue thanks to the deal with Marvel, but it's not going to be as big.
Well, and I wonder too, with PS4 sales no longer on the rise of the PS4 being new, it's a few years old now. And the Xbox coming with Project Scorpio, could that cut into Sony's turnaround? Because don't forget, this is a huge turnaround. Sony was in trouble. There were people talking about breaking up the company a couple of years ago.
Yeah, they killed off their display business, and I think their displays actually come from LG. So they've really streamlined a bit. So we'll see how this actually turns out. But I think you're right. Like you were saying, the image sensors, their camera stuff is fantastic.
Alphabet. Now, you heard the actual numbers about Alphabet on yesterday's show, but I wanted to point out something. Alphabet reported a rise in profit of 29% to $5.43 billion, well beyond analyst expectations. And most of that rise does come from Google, and most of that comes from advertising. That's not a surprise. Paid clicks rose 44%. YouTube revenues grew 22%. Now, the one thing about this is in March, companies started to pull ads. So you would think maybe that would have caused Google to take a hit in advertising, but it did not. In fact, it had one of its best advertising quarters yet. The other thing is Google's non-advertising revenue, because as we talked about with Patrick Beja, one of the criticisms of Google is that they have too much of their money coming from advertising. Google's non-advertising revenue, which is Pixels, Google Play, G Suite, that grew 49.5% to $3.1 billion. Now, that is a big chunk of their business now. Alphabet reported earnings from non-Google companies as other bets. That's what they always do. That's Nest and Verily and Waymo and all of them. That revenue did rise, but the losses also grew. And that's not a big surprise. Everybody assumes that those companies are going to continue to be loss-making for a while, but they're losing in the hundreds of millions while Google itself is making it in the billions. Iyaz, what do you make of this idea that maybe Google's non-advertising revenue is starting to become a significant thing to look at?
Well, it rose, but it seems like a drop in the hat when it comes to the amount of money Google can probably pull out from advertising. I think it's showing that Google's hardware division. I mean, I remember way back in the old days, Google doing hardware seemed like a really crazy idea, but the fact that they're actually making money on it is very impressive. And the Play Store growing. I know there's been a lot of tweaks to the Play Store when it comes to finding apps and being able to purchase things within it, because that used to be a total mess way back in the early days. So a lot of revisions to that is going to be a really great revenue generator for a very long time.
And, you know, Microsoft, a lot of its revenue that they talked about yesterday came from cloud services, from Azure. Most of Amazon's revenue these days is coming from Amazon Web Services. That's its big moneymaker. And Google should be in that game more so than they are.
Yeah, there's a lot to Alphabet, though. Maybe Waymo will take off. Maybe one of their other bets. Maybe
sure.
Whatever. We'll see, because they have basically their hand in everything. Over at a TED Talk on Friday, Elon Musk showed more of his vision for the Boring Company. That's not a dull company. It happened to be his effort to drill underground tunnels to relieve traffic congestion. Cars would descend in a car elevator into tunnels and be moved through the tunnels on a sled that can move at 130 miles per hour and be controlled by a computer that routes cars intelligently as if they were packets in a network that requires absolutely no packet loss. Because
that's you in your car if they drop a packet.
So long, packet. Another advantage is that many more tunnels can be stacked below ground than above ground, allowing for more capacity.
This feels like a Doctor Who episode, because there was that one Doctor Who episode where they were all in a constant traffic jam and they were in tunnels. But the idea is that you wouldn't have traffic jams, because this would allow people to zip from place to place in their car elevators at high speed. And instead of now where, like, if you put 3 roads above each other, you're starting to really push it. You could have 5, 6, 7 lanes of roads stacked on top of each other going down underground, at least until you run into the mole man.
And also your car, it's not just like a self-driving car. Since it's a sled, you're not putting any miles on that engine.
Oh, that's true.
So your car's going to last
turn the engine right off.
Yeah, so it's kind of a really, really cool idea, that the idea you can just go ahead. I'm going to get on the sled now. Keep going.
Okay, but it's got the same problem that self-driving cars have, which is I am no longer in control. You know, how many people are going to say, you know what, I just don't trust that because I'm claustrophobic. I don't want to be underground where I can't see, and put my fate in the hands of some computer-controlled network where I'm just a packet. It's doing its best effort to deliver.
I mean, people get on trains and they're essentially run by computers. I know there's a conductor at the head of it. I mean,
but yeah, but that makes all the difference. Even if it's not true, we think there's a conductor at the beginning.
Yeah, so I'm imagining there's going to be somebody at like a traffic control center that's monitoring all things, and that'll be your safety element. It'll be like, your car is being watched by George. Okay.
Meet Georgina. She's the woman making sure you're safe. The one thing that would make this work for me, and this is going to sound ridiculous, you got to paint that tunnel sky blue. And you got to put some of that day glow light that they use at the Venetian in Las Vegas in there. And that will make all the difference. If this thing is dark and gloomy, I'm not going to want to spend any time in it.
That's a lovely idea, but you know those walls are going to be brought to you by Colgate and Tide. And so you'll be going by the sky, and here comes some ads, like personalized for you.
That's fine, man. Just have sky blue ads. That's all I'm asking for.
Here we go. It'll be like fake, planes pulling ribbons behind them.
Puffy clouds of toothpaste.
There you go.
I'm all in. Yeah, I mean, Elon Musk also said that this is something he spends a very small amount of time on, so we're not going to get this anytime soon. But it is interesting to see where it is as a concept. There's a long way to go. A lot of regulation, a lot of logistics before this becomes a real thing.
True.
Richard Browning used his Daedalus suit to fly around at the TED conference in Vancouver as well. If you got bored with Elon Musk talking about boring, you could walk outside and see this guy. Browning previously has posted video of a test flight of the suit that he conducted in the UK. The suit uses 6 miniature jet engines, 3 on each hand, and a specially designed exoskeleton to kind of brace him in. Of course, as soon as you say jets and exoskeleton, you're drawing obvious comparisons to Iron Man. A helmet with a heads-up display, also Iron Man-like, shows him his fuel use. Suit's capable of up to 200 miles per hour and rising a few thousand feet, but in the video, Browning only goes a little ways off the ground, and he says he goes well below the maximums for safety. It can only fly for 10 minutes at a time, too, so you don't want to fly too far up and then run out of gas.
Yeah, the fact that it exists at all, pretty freaking cool.
It's a great time. I know. This is me
gonna poo-poo
being
this?
that guy
Go
on
ahead,
the
be that
internet. But I'm like, he's only going a little ways off the ground. I mean, yeah, it's impressive, but I want to see him fly. I want to see him go up in the air.
You gotta leave
And-
them wanting more. You can't
Yeah,
just give it
doing
away.
loop
Right?
to loops up above Vancouver, doing some skywriting.
It'll happen, and you'll see him flying in the tunnel.
How
One day.
cool is this, though? I mean, and this is the thing. Iron Man, this is not. But down the road someday, I can see this in a museum saying the current Iron Man suit was first, in prototype by Mr. Richard Browning, and this is that first one in that Iron Man museum, right?
Yeah, that because the second will be like Elon Musk caught wind of this, and he made one in the next day because that's what he does.
Right. He took a break from his boring company and his space company and his solar energy company and, of course, his electric car company.
Yeah,
Oh,
busy
would sorry, I'm jumping back. Would the sleds be able to charge your electric car
for an extra fee, you can have
in
that.
that boring company? Unless you're driving a Tesla, of course, in which case you get it for free.
In the video, yeah, it was all Teslas, of course.
Yeah, of course.
They probably get free rides.
Yeah. So Richard Browning will be able to allow you to fly around above ground. Elon Musk will allow you to whip around in your car below ground. Frankly, nobody's going to be using surface streets anymore.
It's for pedestrians.
It's a pedestrian use of the ground. Hey, folks, if you want to get all the tech headlines each day in about 5 minutes, be sure to subscribe to dailytechheadlines.com. Let us move on to our discussion. So, Google announced the Pixel and Pixel XL phones will stop receiving system updates after October 2018 and security updates after October 2019. This is not a big shock. They've generally said it's about an 18-month to 2-year cycle for these things. The Nexus 5X and the 6P are also set to get their last system updates later this year, September for the OS update and September 2018 for security updates. Now, the news here is that Google has put up a nice chart called on its Nexus help site that shows you the Pixel and Nexus dates to make it perfectly transparent what's going on. Their policy is that OS updates will continue for a device for 2 years from when the device goes on sale, and security updates for 3 years from sale or 18 months from when Google stops selling it, whichever is longer. But the question we have, Iyaz, is why? Why when Microsoft supports Windows 7 still, in some cases? Why when Apple supports iOS for more than 3 years? The 2013 iPhone 5 still gets iOS 10 updates. Why is Android stuck on a 2-year OS, 3-year security update cycle?
Well, I mean, I could see Android having an issue just because there's so many different hardware makers out there. Although Microsoft deals with that as well because they're like, hey, what are you running on? A toaster? We got you. I don't know why Microsoft can't handle this, but Google can't. We talked. There's some technical aspects you and I talked about before the show about Qualcomm and the chip manufacturers deciding whether they're going to support Android or not. But the weird thing is the fact that it's the Pixel. I get the idea with the Nexus devices. They were sort of blessed devices. They're like, oh yeah, it's made by this other company and we're behind it. But Google's own phone, the first one with the Google name on it, Google Pixel and Pixel XL, losing support after 2 to 3 years seems like a really crappy deal. Because if you buy an Apple product and they're end to end, we have the software, we have the hardware, we're going to support you for a very long time. That looks like a better deal because I know people do switch phones from year to year, 2 years and all that kind of thing. But for its first phone to be, I wouldn't say abandoned, but kind of left alone after just simply 2 years seems a little bit weird because it's their first major phone. What do you think about that?
It seems like the problem is the chips. Intel is the one that makes sure your drivers work for your Intel chips on Windows in close cooperation with Microsoft, hence the old name Wintel, because they work in such close cooperation. It does not seem that Google has such close cooperation with Qualcomm. Not that they don't closely cooperate with Qualcomm, but not to the same effect. Qualcomm supports new versions of Android with drivers and optimizations for the GPU, the modem, other parts of the system on a chip in something called the board support package. In some ways, they have more control over the drivers in Android than others. Now, Qualcomm doesn't say it refuses to support older chips, but when Ars Technica asked them about this in August last year, Qualcomm said the length of time a chipset is supported and the upgradable OS versions available for a particular chipset is determined in collaboration with our customers. And of course, their customers are the device manufacturers. So with Samsung, with which sometimes Samsung uses their own chips, sometimes they use Qualcomm, with Google, with LG, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. When you're Qualcomm and you've got the majority of the devices out there, and you've got manufacturers who are like, well, we could probably sell more devices if you don't, and then we can just point at you and blame you. And Qualcomm's like, well, as long as you're selling more devices, we're selling more chips. Suddenly the end customer, the end user, gets left out, and everybody's just passing the buck. Google says it's not our fault. The manufacturer gets to say it's not their fault. Qualcomm points back at those two, and nobody takes responsibility for it.
Yeah, but that's a really, really bad customer service on Google's part because they're selling it with their name. Now, there's nothing stopping Google from licensing the ARM architecture themselves and creating their own processors. Now,
that's what Apple did, right?
Right. They're like, hey, look, we bought, remember, it was with PA Semiconductor. They bought a company so they could figure out how to do this, and they did it. And so they have an issue with Qualcomm right now. I think they're in a lawsuit right now when it comes to FRAND terms, when it comes to licensing. That's a whole other mess. I'm sure you talked about that. Well,
actually, I'm glad you brought that up because, you know, Krug in the chat room said something that I also thought of, which is why doesn't Google just pay Qualcomm to update the drivers? Maybe Qualcomm wants to charge them something outlandish because apparently some people think Qualcomm tries to charge them outlandish fees for things like licensing patents.
Yeah, and also when it comes to Google, they could be thinking just simply like, okay, we have this old phone, the old phone now Pixel, which I own, by the way. I bought this with my own money. And if I knew that, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I would have waited a little bit longer to purchase a Google device, because if Google does bother to make its own processors, maybe they can support it for longer, because I hang on to my devices. I don't sell them. I end up using them as light switches or something crazy. Back to the idea that Google could maybe influence Qualcomm when it comes to doing the drivers. Yeah, maybe they could if they wanted to, but Qualcomm is just gigantic. And from what I've learned about Qualcomm, they have the rights to pretty much everything inside. So if you're going to be doing business with them, maybe it's to your benefit. It might actually, if Google did or Alphabet did a cost-benefit analysis, it might be cheaper to make their own processors than to keep licensing this tech directly from Qualcomm or purchasing their chips.
Yeah,
but that's
Google, it's not like Google's small either. I mean, they've got a ton of leverage. And I want to note that there's a certain point where older hardware just can't support modern operating systems because operating systems take advantage of newer technology, right? That's why Microsoft does end support for Windows 7, because it's saying, look, you know, at this point, your architecture can't support what this operating system is supposed to. I'm sorry, I said Windows 7, but that's a horrible example. But at some point, Windows 10 is not going to be able to run on a laptop from 1997, right? That's ridiculous. And there is a newer point at which that is true. So there's that sweet spot in between. 3 years seems like too short, obviously, because Apple's able to do it longer. But then, yes, 10-year-old phone, sure. Nobody really expects you to support it that long.
Yeah, and the other thing is when it comes to phones, people are used to changing them on a cycle pretty quickly, 1 to 2 years. There's all that upgrade cycle. It's not like people are, a desktop computer is very different, or a laptop is different. You buy them outright. You think you're going to keep them for several years. You're not going to be worried about a 10-year cycle. You're at a 10-year cycle. You're like, why do I still own this thing? It's 10 years old. People don't even keep cars that long unless they're classics.
Well, and I think that's actually, I think you hit on the reason this isn't as common with as it is with desktop operating systems is because the number of people who switch every year is high with phones compared to laptops, for sure. The number of people who switch every 2 years is even higher. So you're talking about a smaller slice of the public that even notices this. Now, granted, when you're in that slice, like I am with my Nexus 5X coming this September, you feel pretty angry, right? Like you're feeling that same thing with the Pixel, and it's still a couple of years left.
Oh, yeah. I hate the Pixel for lots of reasons, including this now. So number one being the design. I really, really don't like the design. But the thing is, I mean, we're a privileged bunch. We can switch our phones when we want to. I mean, a lot of people do that, like we were saying, 2 years or 1 year. But if you can't upgrade and you bought it from Google, you might have some animosity towards the company that sold you the phone in the first place, thinking, hey, listen, you're behind this. You're the company. Your G is on the back of this device. You guys should be supporting this a lot longer. Now, security patches will happen, and the language says no guaranteed Android version or no guaranteed security upgrade, which also means they could, at some point, if they decided to, if they either worked it out with Qualcomm or they put their own division on the driver building, they could probably push an update if a case brought it, made it important. Imagine there was
or maybe the drivers just happen to still work in a future update, and they in the testing they go, okay, fine, we didn't have to do any work. We'll go ahead and push that update out. Why wouldn't we?
Exactly. So like, it doesn't mean that the phone will. It's not like they're bricking your phone after 2
Yeah.
years or 3 years. That would be amazing if Google decided, by the way, your phone is bricked in 3 years.
Also, yeah, you can't even use it anymore. It's like a Note
Hey,
7 suddenly.
There you go. It's over. But that's not what's happening here. And also, that version of Android, whatever that's going to be, I think it's the number or the letter is supposed to be Android P by that point. Pecan Pie, which I'm suggesting right now to Google. Pecan Pie right there, all yours. Or Praline. That will be the last version you get. And so hopefully it'll be the best version of Android up to that point. And you'll want to upgrade at some point.
Well, and ICU makes a very good point in our chat room right now. He says you can likely get OS updates from XDA for 5 years or more. You can always root the phone and do it yourself and tinker with it and see if people are working on drivers and making them work and stuff like that. Again, that's a smaller slice of people though. So, but it does keep that number of people who really are upset narrowing, and that doesn't apply as much pressure on the manufacturers.
I just love the idea that if Google was going to say, okay, look, this is the last one you're going to get. And by the way, now your phone is rooted, so you can do whatever you want. So we know we're giving it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh,
That's
that'd be
completely
great.
free now. That would be amazing. So there's another idea. Free. Google.
Although that's a huge security risk for some people who are like
it's a
don't know what
checkbox.
to do with a rooted phone.
Let me have the checkbox out.
Yeah. Hey, thanks to everybody who participates in our subreddit. You can submit stories and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Helps us figure out what to talk about each day. We find it really helpful. So if nothing else, go over there and vote. dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Our pick of the day comes from Maurice in hot and humid New Orleans, but he does say go Blues, go Cards. So he's got some kind of St. Louis connection going on. Pointed out that if you want to hear Ajit Pai speaking about net neutrality in his own words, he did give an interview to the Federalist podcast. Maurice says, I found it pretty interesting and thought that listeners to DTNS and or cord cutters, I think he means cord killers, could be interested. So we'll have a link to that in the show notes. A few messages of the day. Larry wrote in with a potential explanation for the U.S. Senate ID cards with pictures of chips on them. Did you hear about this, Iyaz?
I have not.
So
Can you please tell me more about it?
it was a Tech Dirt article, I think, if I'm remembering right, where the U.S. Senate staff have ID cards with a picture of a security chip on them, not an actual security chip. Anyway, Larry describes working for a large organization and helping to develop a standard identification design when they decided to adopt chips. He writes, once a standard card was designed, blank stock had to be purchased to feed the identification printers. Because of the large number of IDs that were required, it had to be possible to issue the cards over a period of time. As your card expired, the new standard ID was phased in. Because the cost of an ID plus chip is significantly more expensive than the same ID card stock with just a picture of a chip, that was much less expensive. My first standard ID had a picture of a chip on it where the chip would eventually be. And he talks about some other benefits of that, which is, you know, it started to allow people to put their customized department information in the right place, get the security guards used to looking for things in the right place. So he's like, maybe that's what's going on. It's just a cost-saving opportunity where they're rolling the chips out, but they needed to have the design template set, and so they just left a space for the chip there.
That's a very good rationalization.
Yeah.
Could be a terrible idea.
Larry worked for a large organization. Larry, is it the U.S. Senate? No, I got the feeling it was definitely not the U.S. Senate. But Rich Straffolino had a couple thoughts on Apple looking into the peer-to-peer payment system that Justin and Scott talked about yesterday. This could be part of a greater push in developing markets in India and Africa, where one of the major functions on any phone is to provide basic financial services. While they look to be partnering with Visa in the US, this could be a huge incentive for continued growth worldwide. On the question of whether this would be cross-platform, I'm torn. On the one hand, Apple has shown with Apple Music and iTunes they're not afraid to go cross-platform. On the other hand, with something as sensitive as financial services, I can see their commitment to privacy overriding that, especially if it could be combined with ease of use. I'd be interested to see if Apple builds on the AirDrop connectivity stack and opens up with NFC implementation to allow really easy peer-to-peer connections. A couple of good thoughts in there. For one, I think they could go cross-platform with the web. They could allow you to take an Apple ID. Anybody can create an Apple ID. You don't have to own an Apple product, I don't think. And then and then receive money and send money in that email address, right? But to actually use it on a phone, I think he's right. I don't think Apple would go and make an app for Android necessarily.
I could see that happening. Apple Pay, well, not calling it Apple Pay, but something close to that.
Yeah.
Or because Apple loves to do it, they love just cramming stuff into Apple Music. I could see it being a part of that because that's part of the way Apple works sometimes.
And I love that idea of using AirDrop to send you cash if if we're splitting the bill at a restaurant or something.
Yeah, you're nearby. There you go.
Yeah. Russell wrote, on Wednesday, you and Scott were discussing Twitter's creation of original content, which could likely focus on news, entertainment, and sports. That's what was said in the article we read. Scott was mentioning more traditional content, such as longer form drama. Russell says, I think this would be a great platform for shorter form micro episode content, such as Archer or The Guild. Maybe Twitter could create some content along those lines in addition to the other things they're planning. Like maybe, I don't know, partner up with CNET for short form shows like Top 5, Iyaz.
I don't see it happening. And here's why. Short form didn't work because they had Vine. Remember, that was the shortest form of the shortest form.
Yeah.
They could have put that in. That could have worked. They've got Periscope, and those are usually longer form from what I've seen in a lot of the streaming services. So I would think you could probably just tune in live to something, and maybe you catch 5 to 6 minutes of something. But the idea of micro video formats, we've seen that with Tout. That didn't work. We've seen with Vine. Vine was a really interesting idea, good experiment. But I think there maybe 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 10 minutes. Like YouTube is really stuck to 10 minutes as like one of their key numbers when it comes to people watching video. So maybe 10 is the magic number. Maybe that's the short form content that could work there. But that would be Twitter copying YouTube, and that's a whole other thing.
Finally, Mike in sunny DC said, I hope your appointment went well yesterday. Well, thank you, Mike. Yes, it went just fine. I'm listening to Scott and Justin talk on the Switch, and I feel like Ben from Parks and Recs when it came to Lil Sebastian. I just don't get it. Which, if you haven't watched Parks and Rec, you don't get that either. But it is really funny, trust me. An underpowered tablet, he's speaking of the Switch now, with little storage, no cloud backup, half the functionality of a tablet, struggles to do 1080p, a shoddy kickstand, and meh controllers. I know Zelda is a key consideration here, but Nintendo's notoriously to develop platforms will likely make it only good for Nintendo IP, and third-party support will continue to be limited. I've been saying for years Nintendo should be in the software and peripheral business. I can't imagine dishing out $300 for an underwhelming NVIDIA Shield with bad software just to play a rehash of Mario Kart.
That's some strong words, Mike.
Thing is, Mike, you don't have to understand it. Plenty of people did. So Nintendo's happy. It's like, yeah, man, you might not get it. But some people did. Now you could say they're all idiots, and that's your right. I don't think all of them are idiots. As someone who has a Nintendo Switch, I see the appeal of a $300 device over, say, a $1,000 iPad. It does what it does really well, and it's my way into the Nintendo ecosystem. If $300 is too much for you, this is not a comparison shopping thing, right? The NVIDIA may be the wrong ecosystem for you too. It's all about, is this ecosystem worth $300? And if it's not, then you shouldn't buy it. But apparently enough people are.
Yeah, and about power, I don't think Nintendo's really worried about power. It's about gameplay and enjoying the games. I mean, if you think of the Wii, it was basically a redesigned GameCube, but it was the fun of the games that get people there. So like you were saying, Tom, when it comes to intellectual property, they got Mario. They got Mario Kart. Yeah, it's a rehash, the 8 Deluxe, but they finally fixed battle mode from what I understand. And you're going to assume that the next version is going to have a lot more fixes. So yeah, it's definitely this little gateway into Nintendo. It's not like if you want, like you're saying, really you want power, like you might want to go to a PC. You don't really need a Nintendo. You're not going to get those games.
And maybe the NVIDIA Shield is right for some people. But again, different people want different things. And some people you're like, I don't understand buying this just for Zelda and Mario. You obviously don't like Zelda and Mario as much as some other people. And that's fair. You shouldn't buy it then. But people who do may see that as absolutely worth it because you're getting more than just Zelda and Mario. You are getting some third-party games, maybe not that many. So yeah, I mean, I am not of the mind that there is one rational solution for everyone. And so I don't look at the Nintendo Switch and think it's irrational, but I do realize, yeah, this is not going to be the right device for some people. It is going to be the right device for some. And it's turned out to be selling really well. So it must be the right device for enough people to keep Nintendo in business, at least for now. Mm-hmm. Hey there, Iyaz Akhtar. Thank you for being on the show. And where can people find more of what you're doing?
Hey there, Internet. You can find me at CNET.com, or you can find me on Twitter, twitter.com/IYAZ. I am not the singer. That is at IYAZ Live. That guy is awesome. We're good friends, but I'm not him.
Are you good friends now? That's good to hear.
We've talked a bit, actually.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it's very odd. We're buddies now.
The bonding of the Iyazes. It makes me happy to think that the internet made that happen.
And there's a title for a different book, Bonding of the Iyazes. I look forward to seeing that, written by Tom Merritt.
Also with us today, of course, is Len Peralta drawing Mr. Browning in his Iron Man-like suit. This is brilliant, Len.
Yes. When I saw that in the stories, I thought, wow, that I got to do that, because today, of course, is National Superhero Day. So I know he's not from the U.S., but it's still, he's still part of the superhero realm as far as I'm concerned. I drew, Mr. Browning in his Iron Man suit, and you can see it in all its glory right now at lenperaltastore.com. Oh, I also want to plug. A lot of people may not even know this. I am on a show called Creature Geek on Tested.com. I talk about special effects makeup with Frank Ippolito. And if you order anything from my store, you will get a pack of Creature Geek stickers that we made especially for the show. So if you buy a physical print from the store, you'll get a nice little extra thing in there. So this might be a good thing to pick up. This picture of UK Iron Man. That might be one thing to add to your
free
collection.
Stickers too.
There you go.
Go check it out, lenperaltastore.com. Thanks to everybody who gives a little value back for the value they get from the show. Yesterday, our weekly Patreon update went out with an in-depth overview of the state of the autonomous car market, as well as the usual recap of all the news of the week. If you want that and the satisfaction of being a person who can claim to make the show happen, you just got to back us at patreon.com/DTNS. Big thanks to everybody who does. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. We're live Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 2030 UTC at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv. We're at facebook.com/dailytechnewsshow, and our website is dailytechnewsshow.com. Back on Monday with Veronica Belmont. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
That was good fun.
Yay!
Hey, I didn't make a Brexit joke about that. Just like,
Oh, that would have been
I'm out of here.
drop the mic moment. Poor Mike.
It looks like he's
dropped.
That's why Mike wears a helmet.
So UTC right now is 21. Yeah. And London right now is 22. So that is wrong. No, that's right. 20. Yeah. All right. 2030. I was just double checking my UTC time. What do we got for titles there, Roger?
All right. Spider-Man will help them. Elon Musk brings slot car racing to your daily commute.
Nice.
I have some questions about that. Goog.com. Sony censors profitability. A series of cartoons painted sky blue. Deep thoughts by Elon Musk. Peer-to-peer pressure. Airdrop me some cash, dude. Unlegendary Zelda. Is Google pixeling us a bill of goods?
Spider-Man won't help Sony this time.
Sony Spider-Man offers new yen. The Underground Superhighway.
And
Cloudy with a
Iyaz
chance
have
of
it.
toothpaste
Do
ads.
you even Iron Man?
And the Iyaz have it.
I like that
I
one.
can't vote for that because I have a conflict.
Conflict of Iyaz's.
Yeah.
We should
No,
get
that-
both of you on the show one of these days.
Oh, you said the title. It was the bringing together of the Iyazes or something. It was
Bonding of the Iyazes.
the bonding.
That's what it was.
The bonding of the Iyazes.
But then I'm promising something that the show doesn't deliver.
Well, you say it at the end. That is
Yeah.
the promise.
But
So
you don't get to
no
see
to the
them.
IS have it.
I'm for the bonding of the Iyazes.
No, you don't like Elon Musk bringing slot car racing to your daily commute?
The weird thing is the sleds look a lot more like those shoe sizers you wear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or that's what they look like. I'm like,
Okay.
Well, it's
Did you
because he
guys
has. Oh,
did you guys ever have the little car shooters? It was
yes.
just a rubber band and a little plastic
Yeah.
thing, and you pulled it back. You put your Matchbox or your Hot Wheels car, and then you pressed a button and it released and shot the
Yep.
car. Yeah, that's what it looks like to me.
You know, it does. Title: The Eyes Have It. Yeah, the Iyaz has it, or the Elon.
Which one do
Musk.
you like the most, Roger?
I like the slot car racing to your daily commute because it's kind of descriptive of the episode.
It's a
But-
little longer.
what's the title?
It's only negative.
You can have the Iyaz have it.
Nah.
Just tells you that Iyaz is in the show, really.
That's not-
No
well, and it
offense.
promises more ISs than we have.
They'll also realize on turn the episode on. You're like, oh, that's that guy.
How about we says the
I was
Iyaz
promised
has
multiple
it.
ISs.
Different shields.
You laugh, Len.
It is funny. I want more Iyaz.
I like that.
There's,
The title clearly
promises
multiple ISs.
I just like that Len.
Why don't you
He-
just
he-
change it to Iyaz has it, so it's singular.
But then it means something else.
yes, have it.
Well,
We
then
could
you
just-
can't be punny there.
Boom.
Is there any way to shorten
Iyaz.
the slot car one?
Make it an anagram. EMBSCR.
Yeah,
Why
that's just
do
a
you-
weird anagram. Don't explain it.
I love it.
EMBSCRTYDC.
What does
What?
it mean? You click it and you're like, oh,
What?
I should have thought
Well,
of
it clearly didn't overpromise.
Elon's underground slot car racing.
I kind of like Spiderman won't help Sony this time.
Hey, you can do that one too.
Any last minute thoughts?
Just
I
do
feel
the
like-
Spider-Man.
Yeah,
With
I
great
like.
puns become great.
The Xenomorph is number one. There's mine.
That's pre-show.
You know, the whole thing with the underground car shuttle thing, why don't you just since you have those freaking tunnels, why don't you just build a subway then? And then people take that instead.
What?
Because you still want
No.
your car and you want to have control of the smell of the car. That's
So
why.
why don't you have a system where the subway car is just a flatbed, and then you basically bring, and I always harp on this, you have a little carriage that's like a very size enough for a bench seat, but you can have all your crap in
How
it.
different is that from what he's proposing,
That's-
except that you have to build less stuff in his proposal to make it happen?
Because once you do that, then you have to come up with the varying sizes. You have to adapt it to various sizes of cars.
No, you don't. It's a parking space.
Well, the parking space is a defined space, so
Right.
certain cars are either longer or wider than those.
Basically,
that
a
they will
parking space is generally fits most cars, and unless they're ultra long, in which case they can't use the system. Right? You have to have a standard size car.
fit. Well,
Who's to
then
say-
you also have a matter of weight.
Wait,
as
who's to
well.
say you can't actually have multiple sleds that connect to each other?
Well, no, you can. I
Yeah,
don't
long
think
term.
I don't think you want to connect them to each other though. The whole packet switching idea is that you're not all going necessarily to the same place. So
Oh no,
it'll
I'm saying
route
for like
you.
limos or larger cars.
Yeah,
like
but then they wouldn't be able to bend.
Oh
So
yeah,
what
they
would
would
you
just have to have a special. You'd have to have a special elevator for them.
maybe you need to request it. Like
Then,
you
and then like,
Great.
isn't there?
Well, there will be fewer of the other cars on the surface. So
You know what?
It's like,
I
it's
think
like
we should-
having a route that doesn't allow trucks.
there might be a guy smarter than us working on this for Elon Musk. So it's a
I
shot.
doubt it. I
Or-
doubt it.
Somebody out there is thinking of this. They're like, you know what?
Listen. How many of us were born on June 28th? Oh, me and Elon Musk. We're the only ones who are allowed to talk about this.
That's a good way. I'm sure that's his criteria for hiring people.
Only people born on that day
You're
get to
it.
talk.
Not even an argument. That's just more
No,
of
I
a. That's more of a statement.
It was just a reminder that my birthday's coming up in 2 months. That's
But
it.
you always
Yeah,
tell me
fair
not to remember your birthday.
I don't care if you do.
Well, see,
The
there you
opposite
go.
of the Alamo. Don't remember Tom's birthday.
I don't get upset
Yeah.
if people forget it. I also don't like to make a big deal about it.
But you just
But it is Elon Musk's birthday, and we should make sure to wish him and Felicia Day happy birthday.
Oh, you brought in someone else to kind of bolster that day, cement it in. It's not a big deal for me.
Really, it's mostly Felicia Day's birthday. Let's be honest.
Felicia who?
Oh, stop. You just stop right now.
I'm going to go grocery shopping, I think.
What are you going to get?
I don't know.
Groceries.
Kale.
We have no food in the house. So
Kale and quinoa. That's all he's gonna buy.
Oh, yeah.
I bought
I'm
kale
just-
last night.
gimbap. I'm going to make some gimbap.
Now, so we're going to go get Korean food on Sunday. I might order gimbap now that you've got
I'm
this
gonna
in my
listen
head.
to Unskinny Bop.
Hey, if you're friends with me on Facebook, go and look at the video I just posted on my wall. I just shared on my wall. It's one of the funniest things, I
It
think.
better be funny. I've been on Facebook all year.
Oh, you will laugh. You will laugh.
Unskinny
But
K-pop.
it's Facebook.
I know.
Like hell.
Hashtag portal to hell.
Can I share it?
Hashtag
Every time I open Facebook, it's showing me memories.
Yeah.
memories.
Where's this
Because
coming?
you're a big fan of cats.
No, it's me and Sawyer this time.
Meow, 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 meow.
Ray the
Maybe I
dog
can
just
just paste-
sighed when I said that. She's like, oh, him.
Does
I
she-
don't see why. Okay, this is why I hate Facebook. I opened up Facebook. I follow Len. It's
Nothing.
not there.
You don't see it? You don't see a video about
Look,
it's
that's-
a
It's
monkey?
decided that you're not important enough. Apparently,
Really?
That's an ape.
A monkey? Oh,
Don't monkeys have tails?
yes.
Yes.
It is an ape. Did you see it?
Oh, I did see it at the end there. Okay, didn't catch it till the very end. I mean,
Hold on, let me see. Well, I don't. The thing's taking
Isn't
forever
that
to-
funny?
this is the best entertainment ever. Is telling people to look at something and then laughing about it.
Wait, why are you laughing at a chimp?
premise
That's like a.
behind React videos, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
the whole thing.
You got to stay till the end. That's the-
DTNS reacts to an ape video posted by Len.
That's what's happening. And the,
You
and
know
the ape
what?
is loving
You
it.
know what's funny is that chimp is also a senior. So really, it's just a disagreement between two old people.
You primates,
Oh
you
right,
get
because there's an older lady in a wheelchair at the
You
end.
have to stop this primate.
It's not that the
primate.
fact that
I
she's
don't,
in a
I don't know, Len.
wheelchair.
I found the whole thing a little on the nose.
Oh. But
Yeah.
So if you're not friends with Len on Facebook, audience, viewers,
So this is the kind of stuff that you watch before you head out to the grocery store, huh?
that's right. It gets me in the mood.
Get you in the mood to fling items into your grocery.
So I'm flinging it.
Grocery cart.
Yeah,
so it's
willy nilly. I don't even care where it lands. But
yeah, superficial video. I read that wrong as super fecal.
Or did you
I know.
read it wrong? I don't know.
On
I
that
don't think
note,
it was There's nothing
yeah,
super
I
about it.
gotta go.
All
Gents,
right, thanks, bad.
Good
Thanks,
seeing
Roger.
everybody.
Have a good weekend.
Bye. Take care. Bye.
bye guys. You're on your own.
Man, does this mean that Len's becoming an old man who
Yes.
posts funny videos on Facebook?
I'm going to post misinformation.
I'm becoming an old man in a whole different way, so I'm not going to judge.
Becoming.
Roger's been an old man his whole life.
Yes. I was old before the world was older. Makes no sense. All right, let me get into.
Almost there. Just a few more seconds.
Oh wait, did Beatmaster send me?
Facebook is going to start its own content ID thing. Did you see that? Where you can claim videos as your own. 'Cause that's never gone wrong.
Why? You know, it really is kind of the thing. The more people that get involved in something, the worse off it gets.
Yeah, because the edge cases start to rule things that.
Well, the edge
didn't
cases,
matter.
instead of becoming the exception, seem to become less of an exception.
Well, when you only have 15 people, there's a likelihood that a lot of edge cases don't crop up.
Yeah.
But then once you get a large amount of people, all the edge cases crop up, and then other people, you have enough other people who get offended by them that even if most people were fine with it, you still have to identify it and adapt. Zoe Brings Bacon says, I gave myself an age advantage. I was born at a very young age. Good work.
Yeah. Amazing accomplishment.
Amazing. Okay.
Why will
I
you not-
believe that I have published this show and that our work here for this week is done. Thank you again, Roger Chang, for all of your efforts this week.
Thank you, Tom, for allowing me to fill in your stead.
And let's get Andy Beach on to talk about Raspberry Pi stuff.
You and raspberries, man.
No, but it's game emulation. I thought you'd like
No,
that.
I know. I'm teasing.
I thought you
I'm
would like it. I did it for you.
You know what? I'm gonna come up with a little app that just puts a /S on everything.
Well, I kind of assume that's there on everything. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
See ya.